Our Lee athletics have been stellar this season. Tomorrow afternoon, the Lee men's soccer team will play Spring Hill College on the road at 2 p.m. So if you see a Lee soccer player on campus, make sure to wish them luck and watch via live stream as they compete for our school. Go Flames!
It's that time of year. Dorm Wars is coming to campus on October 2nd at 7 p.m. in the Walker Arena. Whether you are competing, cheering on your dorm, or just watching, everyone is welcome to be a part of this amazing event. Come out to see who will be taking home the coveted Dorm Wars trophy.
Do you need to register to vote? Stop by their voter registration drive daily until Friday, September 29th to register and be part of living out a Lee institutional core value, responsible citizenship. The booth will be in the PCSU today and on the Ped Mall on Friday. Voting is how we have a say in our leadership at a local, state, and national level. Lee's political science clubs are ready and excited to help you connect and register to vote.
Love music? This evening, the Presidential Concert Series continues with the Glenn Miller Orchestra. The concert will take place at 7:30 p.m. in Pengel Hall. This amazing night of music is free for Lee faculty, staff, and students, $5 for other students and seniors, and $15 for general admission. Tickets are available at the Dixon Center box office and online through Eventbrite.
Thanks for watching. Once again, I'm Macy Jones.
And I'm Jamie Ryan, and you've just been updated.
Good morning, everybody. It's good to see you. Thank you for coming today. I want to let you know that on Tuesday, Dr. Jared Wilford will be in Conn Center, and on Thursday, I'll be speaking, and we're starting a new series, Hard Questions I Ask Myself, so I hope that you'll come and hear us on Tuesday and Thursday. Tonight, the Mosaic Council is hosting Culture Fest. Tomorrow night. Yeah, okay. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock here, Culture Fest, and there's a post-event mixer out in Alumni Park after that. Today we have a very special guest. Our guest is an accomplished singer, songwriter, producer, and author, and he is a spinal cord injury survivor. He has told his story on American Idol and other national television broadcasts, and he's here today all the way from LA to share his story and to remind all of us in this room how powerful our choices are. Would you please help me welcome David Francisco.
Hello, hello. We're going to start with a video here.
Hi, I'm looking for a family member of David Pletolero.
This is his mother.
What do you know about your son's condition?
I know that he was riding his bicycle, got hit by a car, hurt his arm badly, was taken to Vanderbilt Hospital in the emergency room, that he was conscious, but in a lot of pain. That's all I know.
Actually, no, his left arm's not too bad at all.
Oh, it's
He actually, I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this, but he's got a pretty severe injury to his spine.
A severe injury to his spine. Can I?
Choices matter, and the choice the driver made that day permanently affected my life in a lot of ways, but I'm here today to tell you that the choices that you make in your life are more important than what happens to you, and God can redeem even the most hopeless of situations. So I'm excited to share with you all this morning. It's actually fun because I was on this stage probably like 12, 13 years ago at the jazz camp. They have a summer jazz camp, and I was in high school playing the little saxophone, and we did our little final performance up here, so it's fun to be back. That's all I'll say. But I'm David Francisco. It's, like I said, awesome to be here. Back when I was in high school, to start the story, I was an active kid. I grew up wakeboarding. I'm from Knoxville, so I actually went to a school called, let's go, okay, we got some Knoxvillians in the house. I went to CAK, and I played soccer there, won 2 state championships. Wait, is anyone from CAK? Yes, anyone? Yeah, maybe a couple of you. All right, awesome, awesome. Won 2 state championships while I was there. We were pretty good at the time. And because I was a bit of a nerd, after high school, I decided to go to UT, not Lee, unfortunately. This is such an awesome school. I studied electrical engineering. They did have a good engineering program. And 4 years later, I graduated. This is not photoshopped, it's real. But the whole time, I was torn because I played music. Starting in middle school, actually, with the classical piano. There's little Dave on the classical piano. And then in high school, I started playing guitar, and I basically fell in love with guitar from like John Mayer, and I would watch all of his YouTube videos. So in college, I was doing engineering, but then I also like formed a band with some friends, and we'd play at coffee shops in the evenings, and we recorded an album, and it was so much fun. You'll hear more about the guy on the right later as well, but basically, at the end of college, I was faced with a really big choice. Am I gonna do engineering and maybe regret never trying to do music or make something with music? Or am I gonna try to do music and probably fail, crash and burn? That's where I was at when I wrote this first song, which is called Brave Desire. Leave the light, 'cause I can't take the dark of night. It's sad, but I don't have the might to make it to another break of dawn. Don't you leave, 'cause if you do, I'll never be satisfied with only me, living in this house built for two. 'Cause I'm scared to live, but I'm scared to die. Scared to put my life on the line. I wanna take a chance sometime. Balance on the wire. My brave desire. 'Cause I have been holding on to fleeting things so tight. To the things I know that will not last, but I wanna open up these clenching fists, and I wanna live like I've got love to give, 'cause I'm giving in to this brave desire. Thank you very much. So, remember where we're at: engineering and regret, music, ending up on the streets, crashing and burning, or so I thought in my mind. But you know what? I decided I'm gonna try to do music. And so, I set up a home studio in Knoxville, Tennessee, and I just invited anyone I could find to record in this tiny little bedroom. It was so small that we would do drums in the living room, actually. And so, the first month goes by, and I'm playing in bands, I'm playing at a church, and I made more money than I spent. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it worked. Let's do it again. I'm like, as long as I keep doing that, it'll work, right? Like, you know, that was my thought. And so I did it month after month after month. And I was making more money than I was spending. And that's my financial advice, is make more money than you spend. That's kind of as easy as it gets. But after about 2 years of this, I was making it work. However, I felt like I was hitting a plateau. I felt like, okay, I don't know if this is sustainable long-term, at least in Knoxville. I gotta take this to the next level. I wanna get better as a producer and a recording engineer. So it was time for a move. Sorry for my face in this picture. That's my friend Gideon again. You'll hear more about him later. But it was time for a move. I found out that there was a program in Nashville called the Blackbird Academy, and I am a huge fan of this program, by the way. It's a 6-month program where you get to work in studios like this. There's like 7 or 8 studios at least, and they're all amazing. And they have artists like, they've had Taylor Swift there, they've had The Weeknd there, huge artists coming through the studio. And you get to learn in the studio how to record at the highest level. You get to work with all these great microphones, these great instruments. And so I was pumped. Packed up the U-Haul, my dad and my dog there, and we moved myself to Nashville. And there's my dog in my backpack. It's not a stuffed animal. But I don't show you this picture for the cute dog as much as for the helmet. When I moved to Nashville, I had actually forgotten this helmet. And so I'm in an apartment that's biking distance to my class. So I wanted to bike there. I wanted to bike downtown. I wanted to explore the city on a bicycle. Well, it felt super dangerous without this helmet on. But I was biking around. And so I thought the next time I go home, I got to get the helmet. Well, 3 weeks into class, I go home for a festival, and I am leaving my parents' neighborhood, and I've forgotten the helmet again. When honestly, the voice of God pops in my head and just says, go get the helmet. It was like a command. It was, wow. I don't really hear God that much, but that was pretty clearly divine intervention. So I heard that, and I go back, I get the helmet, because 3 days later is when everything changed. And the owner of Blackbird, John McBride, Martina McBride's husband actually, talks about his what he heard in this next video.
I get a call one afternoon, and it was Karma, and she said one of her students, David Plantiero, was riding his bike, and some girl was texting or something and ran a red light and hit him.
We really didn't know until we got to the hospital, and then they said complete injury from the waist down. And will he walk? No. I mean, on our paperwork it says neurological recovery unlikely. We all just broke down and cried pretty hard.
What was going through your mind?
How are we going to get through this?
I had just taken that brave desire, moved to Nashville, and 3 weeks in, everything was taken from me. I woke up in the hospital with a neck brace on. I had no idea what happened. And my parents had already driven there 3 hours. I'm like, why are my legs off the bed? And they said, your legs are on the bed. I'm like, what do you mean? And I looked down, and there's my legs sitting on the bed, but I couldn't feel them. And then I tried to move them, and I couldn't move them either. And that's when I knew something serious had happened. I had no way of knowing the full extent of what that was going to mean for my life, but the way that it was described to me was that I'm the little green arrow there on a bicycle. There's an SUV beside me. The light turns green. This is the last intersection before my apartment, and so we go across. But the SUV saw this car that was not stopping at the red light, that ended up basically flying through it. SUV slams on their brakes. I keep going because I can't see past them, and I got T-boned at about 35 miles an hour. I smashed into the windshield with this arm, and my bike flies over the car. Here's what the bike looks like now. The left pedal's totally sheared off. And remember the helmet? That's what the helmet looks like now. If I had not been wearing that helmet, I would not be talking to you guys today. So I'm not your mom, but I'm a big fan of helmets, and I would encourage you to make the good choice to wear a helmet. Despite the helmet, worst of all my injuries was my spine. So as you can see, it's not quite straight. It's supposed to be straight. And the vertebrae that's poking out there is cutting off the circulation, the connection from my brain to my legs. It's cutting off the spinal cord, which is how you, talk to your legs. So they said it was so bad that they waited until the next day for a fresh surgeon to put 8 screws and 2 rods into my back, which are still there to this day, actually. So like the net value of my back is like really high, but that's about the only good thing that happened that day. Sorry, dark joke. I thought that I lost everything, guys. I thought that I lost, the ability to be independent. I'm being taken care of by nurses 24/7 at this point. I am wondering, as the days continue, how am I going to go back to the audio school? How am I going to go back to Blackbird? And then, as I keep thinking, I'm like, how am I ever going to be in a relationship with someone? I want to be in a relationship someday. I want to get married. And I just don't think I could ask someone to sacrifice so much to be with me in this situation. So it felt really desperate and hopeless. And in the early days, it was people that sustained me. I had over 100 visitors in the hospital. This is the owner of the studio, John McBride, who came and waited until my parents got there. He waited with me at the hospital. This is a girl named Cicely, who was actually a Jimmy John's driver at the time. She sees me bleeding out across the street while she's doing a delivery, stops the delivery, gets out, gets a stranger's belt, and ties a tourniquet on my arm with that belt to stop the bleeding from my forearm, which was bleeding out really badly from a main artery, saves my life. And not only that, and this is where it becomes a Jimmy John's commercial, but another driver was going by and says, "Cicely, are you good?" And she's like, saving my life. "Yeah, I'm good. Go grab my sandwiches and go." And so they still delivered the sandwiches while she was saving my life. And so if that's not a Jimmy John's commercial, we told them that story and they sent me a $50 gift card. So, didn't quite get the commercial, but it was pretty great. The other people that visited me was this guy, Mike Latanzi, and his wife, Kathy. He heard from Blackbird that I had been injured, that I was one of the students, and he wanted to come and encourage me because he was also in a wheelchair. And he had been for about 10 years at this point, and he was doing music. He had an amazing studio there in Nashville, and I was invited anytime to come and hang out and make music in the studio with the wheelchair. So it was really people's presence more than anything that encouraged me. I had, like I said, over 100 visitors, and just them showing up was enough to say, you know what, as awful as this is, I got people with me, and I know they're gonna be with me through this. The thing that was less helpful, actually, was people's words. Oftentimes, we are all tempted as humans to put a silver lining on a situation and say, like, yeah, it's gonna be okay, or try to find some positive, and there was not really any positive. And so all that did was make me feel like they didn't understand. So if you know someone who's suffering, try to just be present and say, I'm gonna be with you in this. As bad as it is, as hard as it is, I'm with you. That is the most encouraging thing, and it's so hard. Even for me, I struggle sometimes with trying to, find a positive spin on something, but that was the most important thing. So that's the season I was in when I wrote this next song, a song called Love is What Keeps Us Alive. What if it's a dream? What if I wake up and the pain has disappeared? Would I be the same? Or would my life be changed? 'Cause dreams are tempting to believe, convincing at the time they happen. But dreams don't change reality or the depths that I have seen. But I wish they would. 'Cause strength is a man who is broken. Hope is a friend in the night. Joy is the sun that follows the rain. And love is what keeps us alive. I said love is what keeps us alive. What if this is real? What if I wake up and my body never heals? Would I be okay? Or would I lose my strength? This body is my prison and my sentence. I'm tired of trying to pretend this war that never ends isn't happening. 'Cause strength is a man who is broken. Hope is a friend in the night. Joy is the sun that follows the rain, and love is what keeps us alive. I said love is what keeps us alive. Somebody loves you, somebody needs you, feeling alone in the pain of it all. Tell them you love them, or even just hold them. A simple embrace can change a heart. it's a dream? What if I wake up and the pain has disappeared? Would I be the same? I'll never be the same. Thank you very much. So I'm at the lowest of lows, right? I've lost all these things, and I still, even at the lowest of lows, had two options. I could choose to say, you know what? This awful thing happened to me, and I'm a victim, and it's gonna ruin my life, and it's gonna be the thing that defines the future for me. Or I could say, you know what? Despite this awful thing, I can still choose how I respond. And maybe God will redeem it in some way, and maybe I'll find some sort of purpose in it. And that's what I did. I kept choosing day after day to try to make something of the situation. I went to a place called the Shepherd Center in Atlanta, Georgia, where I did therapy for 8 months, and I learned how to live in a wheelchair independently. I got really good at wheelies. And not only that, I started to see some movement come back in my legs. So this next video is a series of clips from that season of healing in Atlanta. Crazy, right? I went from, yeah, thanks. Actually, here's the most impressive thing I'll do all morning. Here we go. You're not ready for this. The deep squat. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, the thing is, I chose every day to go into therapy and try to get stronger and make something of my legs. And I actually read a book in that season called Man's Search for Meaning by a guy named Viktor Frankl. Now, I don't know if you've heard of this book, but he survived the Holocaust, and he wrote about his experience in concentration camps. And he says, this is one of my favorite quotes, "Suffering ceases to be suffering at the moment it finds a meaning." And I read that, and I'm thinking, man, if this guy can survive the Holocaust and say that he found a meaning in that suffering, I should be able to find a meaning in my own suffering. So that's what I did. I found meaning in going into therapy every day and trying to get stronger and also trying to live in the wheelchair. But also, I was invited back to the audio engineering school. They said, we'll have you back on a full ride scholarship and we'll build you wheelchair ramps. Just whenever you're ready, come on back. So good for Blackbird. That was amazing. So that was so motivating. That became another purpose of mine. And then, I was driven. If you can imagine not having any leg function and then you kind of start seeing some movement, our motto was, if it moves, put a weight on it. So that's what we did. The thing that I really didn't expect to find in this season, though, was love. Now, let me take you back 1 month before the crash. I'm playing a show in Knoxville with that guy, remember the picture of my weird face? this guy Gideon had brought a friend. And so after sound check, the three of us got dinner, hung out, found out she was from California. So I wasn't trying to make any moves, but like trying to get to know her, make her laugh a bunch. Anyways, what I didn't know is that Gideon gave her one of my CDs, and she took it home and she would listen to it day after day in the car because she was going through a breakup, and that CD was a bunch of heartbreak songs. So she was like hardcore relating. She called it sing-alongs with Dave in the car. And so, yeah, she's listening to this album, EP, whatever, every day. And then 2 months later, she finds out I get in this crash where my legs don't work. And she's like, of all the people, that guy. So she was like devastated, this guy she met one time. So much so that she wrote me 2 letters in the hospital that were some of the most encouraging ones I got. These letters were somehow related to me. And like I said, they didn't put a silver lining as much as just encouraged me where I was at. And that was huge. So fast forward 4 months, I get these letters. I'm like, great, awesome, that girl, that's crazy. I get invited to California 4 months later for an award show called the Pensado Awards, which was amazing. They invited me out on stage and everything. But I remember as I'm landing and hopping off the plane at LAX, I'm like, oh my gosh, that one girl, she lives in California, right? So I didn't even have her number, so I slid into the DMs, and there's the message. It's painful, but there it is. So I'm also not a yo guy, but I start with yo. Weak start, guys, don't start with yo, unless you're already a yo guy. Anyways, turns out she was in Guatemala, so I'm like, well, what the heck? But she was getting back the day before I left. So we meet up for coffee, and she floats in this yellow sundress, and meanwhile, I'm like wheeling out to her in my wheelchair, like, oh, sorry. Not really, I'm not a California bro. But we caught up like old friends. Seriously, it was weird, the instant connection. And it was great until my dad starts inserting himself into the conversation. Because I couldn't travel alone, so my mom and dad had come, and ends up, it's the two of them talking, and I'm just like, cool, Dad. But not actually cool. So it was okay though, and it actually was kind of cool because he invited her to a music festival that we were going to the next month, also in California. I've only been to California once or twice in my life before this, and now within a month I'm getting there twice. Anyways, we go to this festival, and she sees the world of disability that I'm now living in, and she's totally unfazed. It's amazing. She just embraced, like, how do you go to the bathroom? Well, let me tell you. And like, how do you navigate curbs and all the stuff that was new, but we had a lot of fun as well. So sorry.
To the left. Take it back now, y'all.
Here's my hops. Check out my hops.
Two hops. Right foot.
Enough of that, sorry. But all that to say, we had fun. And when we would get to a performance, everyone was standing. So my dad has the idea of getting Christy and him on either side of me, but then he would just peace out. I could stand up if I was holding someone, but I had to be holding someone. So he would peace out and snap these creepy photos of Christy holding me. And we ended up calling it the all-day hug because it got cuter and cuter, her little hands up in the last one. So it was clear that something was going on. And so at the end of this fest, I'm like, man, I really like you, and I look forward to seeing where this goes. Like, very vague, like, I don't know what's gonna happen. Because I live in Tennessee, you live across the country. But we basically ended up texting for about a month after that, and she was like, I gotta know what's going on. So she flies out to Tennessee, and I'm like, hey, can I play you a song? And she's like, oh my gosh, I've never heard you sing in person. And I'm like, I should warn you, it's about you. And then I played her this song. So it's called She Makes Me Wanna Sing.
Haven't told her how I'd lost the hope to love or be a lover. I haven't shown her all the tears I've had to cry to survive. She doesn't see my weakness, she sees a fighter. She doesn't see my prison walls, she sees an open field. She doesn't know that I am nervous to hold a heart like hers and a hand like mine. contagious, the way she dances to my songs and sings along. It's understated, the way she holds me. I am tall and strong. She doesn't see my weakness, she sees a fighter. She doesn't see my prison walls, she sees an open field. She doesn't know that I am nervous, but she makes me wanna sing.
Thank you very much. Oh, thank you very much. Sorry, I get weird. So she's like, that was okay, but we ended up breaking up, and but I learned a lot. I'm kidding, guys. We dated for like 7 months, and then I proposed, and then we ended up getting married like 7 months after that. It was amazing. Thank you very much. So, yeah, no, we did not break up. So anyways, remember where we were 10 minutes ago when like I was never gonna move or walk again. I was never gonna go back to the music school. I've now finished the music school and I'm getting married to an angel on earth, and all these things that, you know, if I had been a victim and said, you know what, my life's ruined, might not have happened. But look what God does with terrible things. He can redeem even the most broken of situations. Not only that, but just like the icing on the cake was that the story starts to spread. First locally, I was in the Knox News, and I love the title of this. Singer-songwriter David Francisco found meaning in tragedy. Remember the book? Find a meaning in your... Yeah, sorry, that's my radio voice. I have lots of voices. I've also got the Australian accent as well, if you'd like to hear that. But anyways, remember the book, Viktor Frankl, Find a Meaning in Your Suffering. I was doing it. And then I was on American Idol, and I played a song with Martina McBride at the Tennessee Theater, which was crazy. I even hung out with Katy Perry and Casey Musgraves. And all of these things are just like happening because of the injury. Again, look at what God does with a terrible thing. He can redeem the most broken situations. And so my encouragement to you is not to be a victim, not to see yourself as a victim, but to say, all right, God, what can you do with this? What can you do with this awful situation? And to do the best you can with where you're at, because you don't know your story. That's like reading a book. It's like, what's gonna happen next? We don't know. Could turn out great. So anyways, I don't recommend a spinal cord injury, but I did get to meet Katy Perry, so that was kind of cool. One thing that I have not talked about is the driver. Now the driver, it turns out, was a heavy drug user, was not in the right state of mind to be driving, and actually made a bad choice that day to drive distracted. And so she was so distraught after the crash that she tried to commit suicide 3 days later. She woke up in the hospital with a second chance and found out that I forgave her. And all I can say is that forgiveness brings life. I knew that it was the right thing to do in the moment, and I continually had to forgive her as I kept going. I knew that God had forgiven me, and that's what we were called to. And ultimately, it was gonna help her out, but it was also gonna help me out. Because if you've ever held on to resentment, you know that it eats away at you. It's like giving someone poison but actually drinking it yourself. No, it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. No, it doesn't work, right? So it's super, super important to be able to let go of something by forgiving. It's not easy, and I'm not saying to enable someone, and I'm not saying that what she did was right. It was obviously awful and terrible, and she shouldn't do it again. So she ended up going to a halfway house and getting clean, getting off drugs, and 8 months after the crash, we decided to meet up. And I cannot make this up. The name of the coffee shop we met up at after our first encounter, which was on a bicycle, was called the Red Bicycle. So we meet up at the Red Bicycle. My bike was blue, but there was red involved. Dark joke, sorry. Yeah, no, it hurts. Anyways, we meet up at this coffee shop, and I just remember walking in with my forearm crutches, and there she is. She gets up, and I say, bring it in. And we just hugged, and it was one of the most powerful moments of my life, where I just felt the peace of God that transcends all understanding. It's literally that verse. this was the right thing to do. This is closure, and this is forgiveness for her. She is now able to move forward in her life, and so am I. So again, forgiveness brings life. It's not fair. She didn't earn it, but neither did we. So it was an amazing example of God's forgiveness in us that I was able to extend to her. She was even able to come to our wedding reception in Tennessee, I guess a year and a half, 2 years after. This is a cool picture, but ultimately, I don't want you guys to be in this situation. So I am going to talk about a couple stats that I think are super important, because one thing that I do now is I share about distracted driving, because it's super important to be focused while you're driving. And you guys are relatively new drivers, and I want you guys to make good choices on the roads. So a couple things you can do, or a couple stats first. Nearly 1 in 5 crashes is because of a distracted driver. And that means that it was totally preventable. Someone was texting, someone was drinking, not in the right state of mind, and made a bad choice and caused someone an injury or worse. And I hate that because it's totally preventable. The other stat is that 5 seconds is the average time your eyes are off the road when you're texting. And that's enough time at 55 miles an hour to cover the length of a football field. And it's like doing it blindfolded. Not a great choice, right? So we're gonna make good choices in our lives, right? Because we are becoming our own individuals. You guys are in college. Like, this is your time to really define who you want to be. And so some of the good choices that you can make, actually, I don't know if you've noticed, but I don't call it an accident. I call it a crash, because it's something that we're responsible for. When we're behind the wheel, it's not an accident. It's not something that happens to us. It's something that we are in control of and we cause if we make mistakes behind the wheel. So, yeah, like I said, a couple things we can do. We can speak up if we're a passenger, because if you're a passenger and the other person is driving distracted, well, you could just as easily be injured or killed if the car crashes. So you don't have to be their mom, though. I've got a great example of what you can do. You can say, hey, let me help you with that. Let me text that person for you, or like, let me pull up David Francisco on Spotify for you, or let me pull up the mass for you. And that way you're being an example. Shameless, right? That way you're being an example, and you're saying, you know what, you focus on the road, I'll help you with whatever you need. The other one, and all of you should do this, so technically you should do 2 things. You should go follow me on the gram, and then you should go set this setting. Do not disturb while driving. Do the setting first, actually. I'm less important than the setting. But this setting makes it to where your phone does not send you notifications. It's automatically in do not disturb when you're driving, and it automatically responds to someone who texts you, I'm driving, I'll respond when I get to where I'm going. One good choice to turn this on could save so many lives, because you don't even have to get the notification to be tempted to look at your phone. We're all kind of addicted to our phones, right? So if you set this, you won't even have to worry about it. You just text them back when you get there. It can wait. The phrase is very, very true. So to summarize, guys, we're almost done. You guys have been amazing. Less words, more hugs. If someone is suffering, just be present with them. You can choose how you respond to anything, and you might actually find meaning in your suffering. God can use suffering sometimes more powerfully than the good times. And ultimately, forgiveness brings life, and that's what God calls us to. It's not fair, it's not easy, but it's good. So please make good choices on the road and off the road. And to give you guys a quick update on my own life, don't worry, the cute little dog was not in my backpack when the crash happened. He actually has a bunch of siblings now. Those are Mason, Migo, Paris, and Jacko, dirty little beans, as well as we got a little human on the way, Christy and I. And he was born 2 weeks ago. Sweet baby. So I love you guys a lot because I left them to come here and speak. But it's great. I love doing this. But sweet baby is kind of in one of those phases where they just cry a lot. If you're a parent, you know. Anyways, I also have a music studio out there where when I'm not speaking on the road, I'm producing music full-time for some amazing artists in LA. Christy's actually a performer at Disney, so I was like, I'll come out to California. It's not so bad. Yeah. Anyways, I'm going to do one last song for you guys, and I think I'm going to stand up for this one. Yeah! It's a song called Lionheart. So remember how when I woke up, I'm like, why are my legs off the bed? Well, shortly after that, I'm thinking, wait, I think I'm going to get a tattoo of a lion on my forearm. It was that specific. It was almost like, go get the helmet, get the lion tattoo. Like, I'm not saying it was God, but it felt like something outside of myself telling me to get this tattoo. So, like a good human, a good little Christian boy, I waited for 4 months, and the thought just would not leave. So I ended up getting it. I'm only wearing this jacket because it's so cold. But anyways, I got it right here. And the reason is that I realized is that it's right by the scar. Now the scar, which was bleeding out, remember Jimmy John's girl? That was my reminder of the crash and what happened to me. And the lion has become my reminder of how we're called to respond to what happens to us. So this song is called Lionheart. You guys have been an absolute pleasure. It's been such a blast to be here. Sorry, the British thing just happens. You gotta just roll with it. But anyways, sounds good. Here we go, Lionheart. Okay. Now, I love the clapping. Keep it going. But just don't speed up, okay? Promise me you won't speed up. Too many people speed up, and it's just a time. Here we go.
I have the heart of a lion. There's a spirit inside of my bones that makes me alive.
You guys are great.
I have a fighting desire. When the darkness is closing in, okay, I see the light. Quick break. Somehow when everything's wrong, I know I'll be alright. Just when my faith is gone, hope will arise. Somehow when I can move on, I find the strength to survive, yes. 'Cause here we go. Have a lion heart, You got it. Here we go. I may seem weak to the world. I may never be fast or as strong as I wanna be. But I am a runner on the inside. Oh, and no one can stop me now. I'm on fire, on fire. Somehow when everything's wrong, I know I'll be alright. Just when my faith is gone, hope will rise. Somehow when I can move on, I find the strength to survive. 'Cause I have a lion heart. Yeah. Good job. You can do more than you know. Yeah, you can do anything. Anything is possible. You can do more than you know. Do you believe? Oh, you can do more than you know. Yeah, you can do anything. Anything is possible. You can do more than you know. Do you believe? Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
This last part's for you.
'Cause you have the heart of a lion. There is courage inside of your bones. Don't you believe? Thank you all so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. I believe we're going to have a quick announcement. I will stay for just a little bit because I have one more speaking engagement after this, actually. But it's been so fun, guys. You guys have been amazing. So stick around for this announcement, and then I'll be up here maybe like 5 or 10 minutes afterwards.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much for sharing your story and inspiring all of us. Thank you to Randy Bonner, the Dillard family, and the 24/7 Foundation for bringing David to us today. On Christmas last year, the Dillard family suffered a tragic loss with the death of Dustin and Brittany Dillard in a horrific car crash that was caused by a distracted and impaired driver. And what they're doing in our community is taking tragedy and making meaning out of it for a lot of people. So thank you for coming today. Some of the Dillard family is here with us this morning. Thank you for being here, and thank you, David, for joining us today. Let's join together in the college benediction before we leave. Now let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. Amen. God bless you guys.